Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and I talk a lot about Salesforce. Today we're going to be doing a crash course in the different parts of the Salesforce CRM that you need to know as a salesperson or as someone new to Salesforce, and how to do your basic functionality within Salesforce that you need to do for just about any job. This will show you how, as a user of Salesforce, to use Salesforce and how to do some of the basic things that you need to do to be successful within Salesforce. I promise if you take this crash course, then you will be doing super well at getting around Salesforce and using it effectively for your job, and you'll be able to help out other coworkers or whatnot. I do want to plug that I have a full-length course on this on Udemy. That'll be linked down below. I will also link down how to sign up for a developer edition. So this is a free edition of Salesforce that you can use to kind of mess around and practice things so you're not messing things up in your regular Salesforce instance that you're using for work or for whatnot. There'll also be links down below as far as timestamps, so then if you want to skip forward or move back, or you want to watch this video again and come back to it when you have questions, feel free to do so. One last thing before we get started, please drop any comments that you have or questions that you have in the comments below. I will try and get back to you as soon as possible, and I'm sure other people who are coming to this video will be happy to answer your questions as well if they can. Salesforce is a really, really awesome CRM that you can use, but if you don't know how to use it, it can be super overwhelming. So that's kind of why I'm here today to help you. So first thing we are going to do is get you set up with a developer edition. So again, it's just a free instance of Salesforce for you to go ahead and play around with. You're going to need your email, and let's just jump into it. All right, let's go ahead and do our first name and last name, then an email, and then role. So this doesn't necessarily have to be your actual role. I'm just going to say developer. And then a company can be whatever you want. That is my company that I run this YouTube channel through. But it could be just seriously whatever company. It could be a made-up company. It could be the company you work for, whatnot. I'm in the United States, so I am going to search for United States here. And I'm in Utah. And then this is not my postal code, just a fake postal code. And then you're going to need to come up with a username. This can be whatever, as long as it's in the form of an email address. So oftentimes you'll be like, the example here is Jane from Company Sandbox. This could be like your first name and your last name at whatever company. It's going to send it to whatever email you already have. And sometimes this is your email from your company, but for this purpose, you can go ahead and just create one. I am going to say ec@callcompany.com. It doesn't have to be unique across all Salesforce orgs. So if you have an email from an old company that you use to log into Salesforce, or your current company you have a login to Salesforce, don't use that username. It will send back an error because it's already in use. I am going to agree to the terms of services and click sign me up. So now it's processing and it'll send this to my email. And this can take, depending on however long the system is going to work, it could take anywhere from like 2 minutes all the way up to 20 minutes. So don't worry about it if it's taking a little bit longer. Feel free to pause this video and come back. Okay, so that did take a couple of minutes. I want to say it took like 2 or 3 minutes to create that org. But once we have this email, we can go ahead and click verify account. One more thing to note before we end up exiting out of this tab. You do have a login link here, so you might want to save that. You can also save your username if you want to, or if you have a password manager, then you might want to save it in there as well. So now it's going to take us to changing our password. So I'm going to say my password is Salesforce, and then it does need a character, 8 characters, 1 letter, 1 number. You can use a password manager for this. There we go, and make sure that they match. I'm going to say that I was born in Salesforce, but if you are creating this for your own, you can go ahead and use your actual city that you were born in. I am going to change the password here, and then it should take us into our new developer org. All right, I am going to get rid of all these pop-ups here and zoom it in so it's a little bit better for you to watch. But let's talk about navigating around Salesforce. So that can be really confusing, and you probably have never seen this screen before if you are a user or a new user of Salesforce. This is your setup. So this is where, I guess technically I like to call it the back end of Salesforce, but this is where admins and sometimes developers come in to do the different types of customizations that you need for your Salesforce instance. Typically, if you are a user, you're not going to need to use this at all. So let's go ahead and jump into the front end of Salesforce here, here in the app launcher. And then I am going to go search for sales because that's what I like to do most of it from. So this is what the homepage of the sales app is looking like. So let's talk about a few things here. This up here, this little 3x3, some people call it the waffle that's underneath the Salesforce logo. This is going to be called the app launcher. So if you are looking for something up here in the navigation bar, like right now I can tell you I can't see cases. There's a few ways to get around this. You can either search for an app that does have this already. So Service has this, or the Service Console has this, or you can search for it here. If you want to go into cases, you can search for it, or if you view all, you can see everything that you have access to. So like assets, which is probably something you're never going to use, different objects or groups of data within Salesforce. So like if you're looking at forecasts, you can go into there. If you're looking for groups, for leads, you can get that there from searching. One more thing that is important, this is going to be your global search. So if you are looking for a specific lead or a specific account, you can do so here up in the search, and it will help you get to wherever you're going faster. So let's say I'm looking for John. I hope there's a John in this org. There is test data in here, so you're not going to be needing to create your own data. There is test data for you to work with in here. So if I search for John, you can see it brings up all the results for John. If I click on it there, it'll help me find more Johns. This is the first contact that pops up. And then we've got leads that are related to any types of Johns, and it's sorted by relevance. So you can change it here if you want to sort it by any of these different things. And then opportunities that have anything related to John are also here. So now if we wanted to go into John, we could do that quickly from there and see the details of John. But if we want to go back to the homepage of Salesforce, now this can be customized, and you might want to ask your admin about the different customizations that are here and what you can do to change it up and make it look a little bit better for you. So let's jump into leads. So leads are probably going to be the first thing that you're going to be working with if you are a sales rep, if you are a business development rep, or if you are an account executive, then you're probably going to be working a lot in leads. Let's talk a little bit about what leads are. So in the Salesforce realm, leads are going to be people that are interested in your company but are not quite in the process of purchasing your product. Let's say we are a SaaS product. It doesn't necessarily matter whatever SaaS product we are, but let's say we met someone either through a referral or if they requested information from our website, or we met them from an event that we went to. They're probably going to be a lead until they convert into an opportunity, and that's when you're going to start working out your deal that you are working on. So let's go ahead and create a new lead. So up here you can see is new. Now this right here is called a list view, so it's just a list of whatever kinds of leads there are. Currently I'm on the My Leads one, but if we want to go to My Important Leads, we can also do that. And we'll show you how to create a new list view for you to kind of streamline your process a little bit later. I'm going to click the new button here, and here's where we can go ahead and get started in creating that new lead. A couple different ways to do this. This is probably one of the fastest ways to do this. So anything that has a red asterisk next to it is going to be required to be able to save. Anything else is not required to save. However, the more information that you put in here, the easier it's going to be to do your job, and the less you'll have to update later on. And when you convert this lead into an opportunity, if it does convert, all this information will go ahead and copy over to that new record, that new opportunity, account, contact, what have you. And so it's really important to have as much information here as possible. It's also just really important to have as much information so then you can make decisions based upon your data. So I am going to say this is a Jane. Oh, this is the last name. I'm going to say Doe, Jane Doe. Here And then company, I'm just going to have this be the ABC company. That's going to be required. Lead source, let's say it's from the web. And then it's going to ask you any annual revenue, probably of their company, any industry that you have. This is really important. It can help us make decisions on different ways to contact leads. Lead status is going to be required. It's going to auto-populate here with one. I'm going to say it's working and contacted. Anything else that's required, you can add any type of description. So let's say you're on the phone and you don't have time to fill out all of these other fields that aren't required. Then you can put that in the description and then go ahead and add that in later. So then you're not trying to do that while you're talking with the person. I'm going to click save here, and it should take us to that lead record. Here is Jane Doe and all the information that you can put on here. This will probably look different for your company. This is just the developer org and what comes straight out of the box from Salesforce. If there's other pieces of information that you need to add for your company and for working this contact, then please add that. It'll make your job a lot easier. A few things that I do want to note here. You can change the lead owner here if you want to. So let's say you are just contacting people, seeing if they're interested, and then you're going to move this on to an account executive later on. If there's not already another process for this, you can do that here on an individual basis. You can search for the users, or if you have a queue that you're using to go to the AEs and they'll pick one up as they can, then you can do that as well. You just need to change that right here from users to queues. But that's how you do that. And I would recommend sending a notification email so then the person who's getting it knows that they're getting it. So I'm going to click cancel here. Now, your company might have some things that they require for moving your lead on to the different statuses. So from working contacted to closed converted, you might have some things that you need to have first. Maybe you'll need to have a meeting set with them. Maybe you'll need to have a verbal confirmation that they are interested in starting on working on a deal with your company. Make sure that you have that process outlined with your company as far as what the requirements to go from a lead into that opportunity are. So then it can be clear and your data is up to date as possible. All right, let's go ahead and show you a few different things. Activity can be really important. So activity is going to be creating a new task, logging a call, a new event, or an email. You can send emails through Salesforce. So if you wanted to, you can go ahead and click that email button, and then it will send it to the contact email. If this lead has an email that's already put into Salesforce, it'll send it there, and then it'll track it within Salesforce. If you're logging a call, you can do that as well. Now, activities help us to know how many contacts roughly with a lead will help it to convert or help it to not convert. Another thing that can be really important is that Salesforce will help you if you have any potential duplicates of this lead. So it'll scan Salesforce for some of the other pieces of data that are in here. Personally, I like working off of the phone number and the email. Those are pretty unique to people. You're not going to have duplicate emails and you're not going to have too many duplicate phone numbers. So it'll scan Salesforce, the same Salesforce instance for those different items. And then it'll let you know if there's a duplicate of this lead. So then you can go check out and see what the history with that lead has been. But let's go ahead and convert this lead. So this is going to take this Jane Doe record and it's going to branch it off into 2 or 3 different things depending on how you want it. So I'm going to convert that one. There's a few different ways to do that. I clicked on this little ribbon here, converted, and then select converted status. Or you can go ahead and click convert over here. I clicked this little down caret. And there's some other options for things that you can do within Salesforce over there. I'm going to click converted again. So now it's going to send us to create an account or choose an existing account, create a new contact or choose an existing one. And then you have the option to create an opportunity or to not create an opportunity. If you check this little checkbox down here, it will not create that opportunity on converting this lead. But you do need to have the account and contact or choose the existing ones. So if you wanted to choose an existing account, you can click on that and then you can go ahead and search for it. Currently, there are 0 account matches or anything close that's related to this ABC company. So I'm going to click create new. If I want to choose an existing contact, then again, I could search for that one and then update the lead source. But I'm going to go back to create new. You can update some of the salutations, like let's say they're a professor or a doctor. you can go ahead and add that there. And then as far as the opportunity goes, there's not a lot of changes that you can make. One thing that's really nice is the naming convention of Salesforce opportunities. So it's going to have the account name first. At least this is for straight out of the box. And then you can say whatever the opportunity name is. And your company will probably have a naming convention for this, but I'm just going to say this is initial contract. So this is the first contract that we are having with this company. Sometimes you might want to have a renewal contract, and then you can create that naming convention there. I'm going to go ahead and click convert here, and it will branch that off into 3 different records. If you are experiencing any errors or you feel like there is information that should be moved over when you are converting the lead, then ask your admin or whomever is in charge of the Salesforce org to update that lead conversion. So then you're adding more information or that you're having errors, and they can help you troubleshoot that. So let's explain kind of what these all are used for. So the account is typically going to be the company that you are selling to, especially if you are a B2B business. Most of Salesforce is going to be B2B or B2C, but let's take the B2B business model for this purpose. The account is going to be the company that you are selling to. And it will link all these different pieces of information. It'll link to the contact, to the opportunity, as long as it's connected. The contact is going to be the person that you are working with. You might have multiple contacts for one particular company that you are selling to. And then opportunity is going to be the deal that you're working on. So you could have one account and have multiple contacts, have multiple opportunities with them, and they should all be connected. So then you can see the full history and understand the whole company that you're working for, the whole contact, the whole deal spectrum that you are working with. The lead is kind of like all 3 of these in one, but before you start selling to them. That way it helps save on space for your Salesforce instance, as well as keeps it in one spot before you end up working on other pieces of the deal or of the opportunity. Plus, you may have a lot of lead flow, and maybe you have a 50% conversion of leads. You don't want to have to deal with all of that account, contact, and opportunity data when you can just mark the lead as not converted and go from there. Also, any type of activity that you have on one of these pieces of data is going to cross over onto the other one. So let's say you send an email to Jane Doe, it's going to show on the account. Any email or meeting that you have with the opportunity, it's going to show on the contact that's linked and on the account. So those are all connected to help you understand this deal the best and how to move forward the best as well. Let's go ahead and jump into accounts a little bit more and what information is on accounts. The more information, the better it is for a lot of different reasons. It's going to be better for selling. It's going to be better for understanding what types of accounts we should be selling to. So you could have a bunch of different fields for the account. This is just what's from Salesforce out of the box and what they think that you would like to use. Let's talk a little bit about account hierarchies. You can add another account as its parent. So that's a little confusing. Let's explain here. Let's say that you are selling a product to individual Walmarts. You could have a parent account that is Walmart and then have each location of Walmart as its individual account, but then it'll link back to that bigger Walmart as a big parent company. That is going to help you a bunch of different ways. It's going to have links to all the different Walmart locations that you have, and you'll be able to analyze the other Walmarts that you've sold to, the other deals from Walmart that you have sold to be able to increase your chances of closing that deal and winning that sale. But because this is just the ABC account, it doesn't necessarily have the parent account for it. Now, let's say we had different sectors of the ABC company that we were selling for. Let's pretend that this is the ABC company that has a bunch of different shows and it's its own network. Let's say we had one for documentaries, we had one for dramas, we had one for live events. You could have it be ABC live events and then link it back to this parent account of ABC. But that is going to be parent accounts. It'll be helpful to have the account site. You could change the industry. It would be important to have the annual revenue, so then you could understand what kind of market cap you're in. If you are in a smaller market, if you are in a enterprise market, that'll help a lot. The ownership could be very helpful as far as who you're selling for and understanding their business model a little bit more. But accounts are pretty simple. I don't know if you'll be working too much from accounts, just because most of the time when I've been working with sales reps, that you'll be using the opportunities far more than the accounts. But it is very nice to have the information, to have the linking back and forth to understand the business a little bit better. Oftentimes you'll be creating accounts from that conversion process. But if you do want to create a regular old account, you can go click up here to accounts or search for it over here in the waffle. You can go ahead and click new here and then enter in the information, very similar to how we just created that lead from that related list. So anything in red is going to be required. The more information that you can enter in, the better. If you're talking to someone, you can enter it in the description and update it later. And you would click save or save and new. So that's going to be accounts. Let's go ahead and jump into the next one, which is going to be contacts. So contacts are going to be the people that you have been selling to. People can change companies, so maybe you want to keep tabs on these contacts and change them as they change jobs, as they move up in the company. But this, like accounts, you're not going to be working too much off of unless you're sending emails through Salesforce from their contact, which you can do from opportunities, but this is going to be just information that you're going to want to have to contact them. Let's go ahead and create a new contact here. Oftentimes it's going to be creating that lead conversion process, but you can also do this from this list view, create new, and then doing the first name, the last name. Let's go ahead and do John Doe here and search accounts. Go to the ABC company. You can have their birth date here, who they report to, their lead source, if they had a lead source. One thing that's helpful is to have at least one form of contact for this contact, be that a phone or an email. Please add that in if you have, but YouTube does not like it when I add that in. So I'm going to just have this be how it is and then click save. And if we go over here to details, then this is going to be the same information that we just had. Now, there are a few things that have moved. You can do the task, the log a call, event, or email here, like you did on the lead. It's just in a different spot. Let's talk a little bit about related lists. This is where it's going to be connected. So let's say we had an opportunity with John Doe. We could connect that opportunity here or create new. We could connect or look at any cases, any campaign history, or any notes and attachments here. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into opportunities here. So, like I said, opportunities are going to be probably one of the main things that you're going to be working from to understand the deal, any type of contract that you are working on. So up here is going to be the deal stages. Now, this probably does look a good amount different in your actual org that you are working on and that you're selling from. You may have a list of items that you need to do before you move on to each stage of the selling process. So prospecting versus qualification. This might look like setting up a meeting or qualifying that they are wanting to move forward, a verbal confirmation that they're wanting to move forward with a contract. Then you'll probably move into needs analysis where you're meeting with different stakeholders for their company. That might be the qualifying event that you need to move on from the needs analysis to the value proposition, understanding their needs fully and what they're looking for in a SaaS product, because we are working at a pretend SaaS company here in this example. A couple of the really important pieces of information that are crucial for having opportunities. You're going to need to have a name. That's really, really important. Try and name it something that is pretty indicative of what it actually is. So this is the initial contract before we move on to maybe any add-ons or any change orders to their product. This might be a renewal contract, or maybe it's product degradation and it's not looking good, or any type of changing of the contract. Those are all things that you could have, and I recommend that you name it something good. If your company has a naming convention, then use that. You're going to have the account, and this is going to be a link that goes back to the account. If you hover over it, you can see some of the account information as well. And then lead source is super helpful. Amount of the contract or a possible amount of the contract is super important. You might not have this until a few stages into the contract. Let's just say it's $100,000 here, and I'm going to click save there. Expected revenue is going to auto-populate. Anything that doesn't have a little edit icon right there, or if you go up here and you click edit and it doesn't show that you can edit it, so like expected revenue, you definitely can't edit that. That's going to be calculated based upon the amount. I am going to close, or it might have a couple of different factors that are calculating that piece of information. Close date, super important, so then you know when this opportunity is going to close or when it's projected to close. This can help a lot with forecasting and understanding your pipeline and your quotas and whatnot. Next step, I always encourage you to have a next step written down. So then let's say you have some type of accident where you can't work, someone can come into this opportunity and move it along to the next step. Or let's say you're jumping into a coworker's opportunity, you can understand what the next step is. Super important. Even if you're not anticipating anything, it'll definitely help. So this is just kind of the basic information that you have, but I'm sure that there are other pieces of information that your company will want you to fill out. One of the best things that I have seen as far as workflow is that fill out this description with notes from your meeting as you're in the meeting. Don't try and fill out the fields while you are working on that deal. As long as you enter it into the description and then you go in after the meeting and kind of recap, enter in that information into those fields later on after the meeting. So that way you can either recap and maybe that'll refresh your mind, help you get some new ideas, but also then you're not trying to scramble while you're talking with the customer. Go ahead and click save here, especially if you have like a ton of fields from your company of like, we want to have this many users, or we are anticipating this much file storage that we need, or any type of customization that they want. Then you can mark that there and then add it into the individual fields. Let's talk a little bit about buttons before we move on to close winning and close losing. So you can follow this. This is just for Chatter. If your company uses Chatter, most people don't use Chatter too much anymore, so it's not too important. If you want to create a new case, if this needs to go to customer success or customer service, you can create a new case as far as like, hey, this part's not working and we want to have this bug fixed before we renew our contract. Then you can enter in a new case and get people working on that. New notes, if you want to enter in any type of notes or attachments, you can do that there. Or again, you could do that over here in the related list. A little bit about related lists. These are going to be different groups of data that you have connected. So here you can see we've got products, notes and attachments, partners, contact roles, stage history. Related lists are, in Salesforce terms, they are related objects. Objects are just groups of data that you have within Salesforce, like opportunities, leads, contacts. Pretty much everything here is a object. It's just a group of data, nothing too special or complicated. You can clone this opportunity up here back at the buttons if you need to have like another initial contract, or let's say you want to have an opportunity cloned for a change order. That can be super helpful as well. So then a lot of the information is going to be copied over, but then you'd have to update that clone. You can, if there's an approval process, you can submit it for approval. So let's say you are adding a discount to it. That's a really common scenario that I've seen, is if you're adding a discount, you might need to have manager approval if it's above a certain percentage. You can do that there with that button. Deleting the opportunity if you accidentally created it, but make sure that you are deleting it if you do mean to delete it. If it's just an opportunity that was closed lost, I would recommend keeping that just so then you have that data and your company can go back and look at that later. Editing is pretty self-explanatory. Changing owner is the same as this button right over here if you're going to change it to someone else. Sharing, this is going to be manual sharing. So let's say you have access to this record, to this opportunity, but you need help from another sales rep and they don't have access to see this record within Salesforce. You can share it. This is called manual sharing. You can search for that user. You can share it with a bunch of different people. You can share it with a public group. So let's say you have a group of sales reps for a certain product. You could share that with that public group as long as it has been created. You can share it with a specific role. So let's say if you wanted to share it with a sales manager who wasn't your sales manager, who was maybe over a different territory. You could share it there and get their help. You could share it with a role in internal subordinates. So let's say you shared it with that manager that was in a different territory, and you could share it with anyone that reports to them in the Salesforce org, as long as that is set up from your admin. So if you're expecting to share it with someone and it doesn't share and they can't see it, then I would recommend that you have your admin do that or do manual sharing. Set that up or do manual sharing. You can have the access be either read only or read write. Read only, they can't edit it. Read write, they can edit it. I'm going to click cancel here. And one thing about Salesforce is that these links up here are going to be unique. So it's going to be your org. I don't know if you can see that, but up here it's going to have like 006, AJ, number, what have you. That is going to be the record name. So you could plug this into, like, let's say if we wanted to have, if we were sharing this, we could post this in like a Slack group or something. Make sure that you have that whole, I want to say it's 18 digits copied. You could share that record number. You could share the link. The link would still work for them. Or you could share the record. Let's go back here. I want to say you could put that after the first slash, that record number there, and it would take you to that record again. That's a little Salesforce hack for you. Yeah, it went to that record. All right, let's go ahead and move on to closing this opportunity. Let's say we sold, woohoo, and they sign the contract and it's moving over to customer success or to setting up the product. Here you can choose the closed last or closed won stage. This will classify this opportunity as won or lost, and it'll help your data. There might be things that you need to do afterwards, but go ahead and click save. Sometimes this will send out an email. Sometimes this will send out a Slack message to your group saying, congrats, we just sold a product. But it is good for upkeeping your data. It's actually one of the more important parts for your data. So then you know how much revenue you can expect. Now let's go ahead and move on to list views. List views are one of my favorite hacks as far as sales reps processes go. This is a way to just have a look at all of the different records that you have within Salesforce. Right now we're going to do this on leads, so then you can change your work process. Some companies I've seen where they have had like an open lead queue with a lead list of, as soon as a new lead comes in from a web source where they've filled out information, it's going to go into a pile and whoever can grab it first gets that lead. This can also work for showing only the open leads. You could show open, not contacted. You could show working. It could exclude any of the closed leads. If you wanted to change it down by lead source, you could do that. Let's show you how to do this without confusing you too much. Let's see, lead view. Let's create a new lead list. All right, create new view here. And then let's go ahead and add a name. Let's say my open leads. Make sure to have it be something descriptive so then you can understand what that actual lead view or whatever view you're having, you understand what it is. So then you don't forget about it. You can create this for yourself, or if you have access to do it, you can create it for all users. I'm just going to have this be for me. Going to click save here. All right, so now that we are on my open leads, this is where you check out your lead lists. I am going to edit it so you could change the different fields to display. So let's say you didn't want to see the lead source, you just wanted to see the potential revenue. You could do that there, but I'm just going to change the filters here. So it's going to filter down what the different fields are and what the pieces of information are in the fields. So I'm going to keep the lead owner equals me, and then the created date. Let's see, I'm going to just do it custom. And then we could filter down the created date. We could choose created this quarter, last month, this week. Let's do this quarter. This one's the biggest option and the biggest filter. I'm going to add another filter here. You could filter it down by annual revenue. So if it's like equal to $100,000, that would probably be a little bit too specific. For annual revenue, I'd recommend doing like equal to, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, one of those. So then it has like not a specific number for it. I'm going to change the field up here. I am going to change it to the field converted is equal to false. So what this will do, it'll only show leads that are currently open and are being worked on. So let's go ahead and say save here, and then it should update this lead list to only do the open, the working, and because it is where converted is false, it will show closed not converted. So you might have to either change the filters or test around with this to get it exactly how you want it to be. So let's go ahead and change the lead status. Here we go. Does not equal, and then we can do the closed converted, closed not converted here, and click done and save. And there you go. That will get only the open one, so the working contacted or open not contacted. And that is going to be list views. You can play around with it a lot. I'd recommend just creating a new list view and changing it around how you want to. It's not going to harm anything as long as you're not changing the records like right here. Okay, let's move on to reports. I'm going to do reports and then dashboards, and then we'll close out this training. So reports are going to be somewhat similar to list views, but they're just going to show the different pieces of information, the different pieces of data that you have within Salesforce. You can filter it down. You can show different pieces of data. You can visualize it sometimes. Let's go ahead and create a new report. So that will take us to the report type. So this is going to be the objects or the groups of data within Salesforce. Sometimes you can have a few different objects that are connected together. Report types can get pretty complicated as far as what pieces of information can be shown and can't be shown, especially when you are adding more than one object. So like opportunities with projects versus contacts and accounts. That's just a different classification of how those two objects are merged together. So if you're not necessarily seeing the right pieces of data from two different objects, then I would ask your admin to help you out with the record types, because those can get pretty complicated. But if you're just wanting to go for one type of object, so like opportunities is super useful. I'm actually going to create that one. It's going to be pretty easy to maneuver around. So here you can get a little preview of what you can use. So you can get some pieces of information from the account, campaigns, contacts, opportunities, of course, because this is an opportunities report type, products, price books, that type of thing, and then all the fields that you have available. So if you want to make sure that you have a field available before you create that report, you can use that search right there. I'm going to start the report. Okay, so I really like reports, but there's a couple of things that I like to change before I jump into it. I want to update the preview automatically over here, because if you don't, then you're going to be changing things and you have no idea what you're changing. A couple of other things, go ahead and feel free to get rid of any fields that you don't want to see or that have empty data. Unless, of course, you're trying to figure out what pieces of data are missing, then I would keep that. But like owner role here, I don't know why it's there, but we can just go ahead and remove that right there, or you can remove it over here on the side. So let's say we want to remove the age column. I am going to click that X, and there you go. It has removed. And next step. That's going to be empty for now. But this is a really great way to get a lot of information on whatever you're creating the report on in a very quick manner. So let's first go over to filters. Filters, like we just covered in the list views, this is going to either open up or narrow down your data. So right now it's showing me all opportunities that have any probability of closing with any opportunity status, but the close date is going to be in the current fiscal quarter. If I change this to be either all time, previous fiscal quarter, it's going to change what kind of data is there. I'm going to open this up so then we can just have this completely open to all data, and that are, of course, all opportunities. If it was like only owned by me, then it would only show those. But this is a great starting point just to have all the data, and then you can narrow it down later on. So let's say we want to exclude anything that's open, and we only want to show the closed won deals, so then we can create a report and see different things from closed won. So I'm going to go over here to the filter, go to the stage field, and then I'm going to have the stage field be equal to closed one. You can lock this. Locking just makes it so then other people can't edit this. I am going to apply it, and there you go. The stage field is only showing closed one. You can do this for a bunch of different pieces of data. I personally like it for only fields that have some type of pick list. So pick lists are going to be things that have already a set amount of options for you, and you just choose one. The stage is a pick list. You're going to choose from whatever stage it's in. Another one is going to be lead source or type or what have you. So that's going to be filters. You can change it based upon text. So like account name, you could change it down. But those can get really, really funky because it has to match it exactly. And so be really careful when you are creating those. Let's go back to the outline. Here you can enter in more fields. You can see what kinds of fields you can add. Let's say you wanted to have last modified date. I don't know if that's on there, but you can see the last time it was modified. So if you are looking to see which opportunities have maybe fallen through the cracks, that would be a great one. You can also enter in information from the account. So annual revenue might be one that you want to move over from the account if that's being filled out. Any type of contact information as well. One thing that's really important, especially if you want to do any type of visualization, is going to be groups. So groups is going to segment your data down, typically based upon a pick list field like a stage or the source or the fiscal period. This is really important, again, for visualizing your data. If you're going to create any type of dashboard, this tells Salesforce how to change your data or how to visualize your data. Sometimes you can do this by closed one. Let's do it by the lead source here. So as you can see, we entered in the group of the rows. So the rows here are going to be narrowed down. So these again are closed one opportunities that are from a web lead source or from word of mouth, external referral. You can see our partner here has done really well. So our data is telling us that maybe we want to do more promotions that help our partners bring us more business. That can be super helpful. Another thing here that I like to do specifically on opportunity reports is going to summarize the amount. So what I'm doing here is I went to this little down caret. There are a few things that you can do. You can sort it by this column. You can summarize it. You can bucket it. Bucketing is like creating a fake field. Right now we are grouping it by the lead source, but if we wanted to group it by like a mid cap, a low cap, a high cap, you would use the bucket because that mid to low high cap is not currently a field. That's kind of getting into the weeds of reporting, but that's how you would do that, is through the bucket. I'm going to summarize here. So we can see that closed one from partner has brought in almost $1.5 million in revenue or in amount. Oftentimes that is equal to revenue. And external referral is also great. Word of mouth, not so great. But you can see that there. Let's go ahead and change the name of the report. Any type of naming convention, you're going to want to do this so then you can understand what the report is. Other people who are going to be looking at the report can understand what it is. I'm going to say it's closed one opportunities. There. All right, click off of that. That's going to save. A couple of things you can do: save and run or run. I'm going to do save and run. So it's going to have us create a report name. Any type of report description can be helpful. And then choosing your folder. Folders are going to be places where you're going to put this report so then people can either access it or not access it. So if we select a folder, the private one is going to just be accessible to you, or you could do public reports here and you could just put it in their public reports so then people have access to it or not have access to it, just depending on what the purpose of the report is. I am going to select the public reports so then other people have access to this, and go ahead and click save here. And that is creating a report. One thing that can be super useful is adding a chart here. So this is going to visualize your data. There are different types of report charts. Again, this is why it's important to have that one grouping if you're wanting to visualize your data. So then you have more options as far as reports go. Here you can see it shows you how much revenue is coming from each source. Or what we could do is we could change up the properties a little bit. You could change the different types of charts. We don't have enough grouped to be able to do stacked bars and stacked columns. You might have to have a couple more groupings to do that, but you could do a column, you could do a line. I personally really love a donut chart. It's really easy to see what's going on with everything, or you could do a funnel chart here as well. That's really great for stages and understanding how much is in each stage. Let's go back to the donut chart. It's my personal favorite here. Unfortunately, you can't do too much as far as editing the colors of this. This is more of a Tableau function if you are working with Tableau. But that is going to be a report. Let's move into dashboards. This will be our last thing. Dashboards are going to be taking a bunch of reports and putting them onto one screen, essentially. I mean, you could also do one report and just have it visualized a bunch of different ways. But typically it's going to be something that has a lot of different reports. Again, using that grouping when you're in that report is going to have the data be accessible to the dashboard and to different pieces of and different ways to visualize your data. So let's go ahead and create a new dashboard here. I'm just going to have this be a closed one dashboard. Descriptions can be helpful. Folders, very similar to how the other folders were, just underneath the dashboards tab up here. I'm going to click create here, and this is where we can go ahead and get started as far as entering in our dashboard data. This is the dashboard editor. It's not going to look like this when you have saved it and you're just looking at it. Let's go ahead and add a chart or a table widget here. Then you're going to have to use your opportunities or select your report. I'm going to close one opportunities. And now we can visualize our data based upon the different reports. So we have a couple more options than we did on that report chart. So you could see how we had the bar charts, the vertical and the horizontal, the line chart, the donut. We still have access to those, but you can do here, I think this is a lightning table. Yeah, it's called a lightning table. It's just a list of whatever's from that report. This would be the only thing accessible to you from a component type if you did not have that grouping by closed one. So that's why those are kind of important, or that grouping by source. The two new ones here are going to be the number here as well as the gauge. So the number here is going to show the sum of the amount of the whole closed one opportunities. If you just wanted to show a quick number here, you could do that. You can change some of the colors here. So if it's between a certain amount or if it's above or below, you could show it as red or yellow or green. Of course, these are going to be like if it's good or bad. You could change the whole spectrum if you want it to be more on brand for your company. You can change this to dark, but that's about as much as you can do as far as changing up those components. I'm going to go ahead and add this one. You can resize it if you want it to be a little bit bigger, and then you could fit the other components here as well. I'm going to change it, and let's go ahead and add another one here from the same report. Let's go ahead and add a donut chart, and you can move this around however you want it to be. It's reactive, so if you move it over here, it'll move that one down. I am going to click save here. If you wanted to add a filter, you could. Oftentimes this will filter down maybe by territory or by sales rep. If you are a sales manager, you could do that. But that is pretty complex as far as dashboards go. And I would recommend finding another tutorial on dashboards for that, and just not for the purpose of this tutorial. Let's go ahead and click done here. And this is what it's going to look like when it's done. Now, one thing that's different between reports and dashboards. So every time you log into a report, it will update with the current information. That's really, really awesome. So then you know that what you're seeing is up to date. You can just refresh the tab and it will refresh your data. However, because dashboards can be the culmination of a bunch of different reports, you're going to have to refresh this one manually to see up-to-date data. So let's say we had another closed one opportunity that was just very recent. You can refresh it and it will change up your data and update your dashboard and all your different visualizations for the most up-to-date data. One thing is that you cannot update it more than once a minute. So I just saved this less than a minute ago, and so it was a little bit tricky to get. So it is not currently working. Buttons up here. You can edit it. If you want to go back in and change it up, add some more components, feel free to do so. You can download, save. Save as would just pretty much clone it, just under a different name. You can change the owner of this dashboard, create a new one, delete it. One thing that is really important that I really like actually is creating a subscription. So it will send a result by email on whatever basis you want to send it on. This is available for both dashboards and reports to see, or maybe have a user see it. So an example of this was, so every week on Monday morning at 7 a.m., the customer service manager or the customer success manager would get a weekly report of the closed opportunities that closed in the past week that are ready for onboarding. Or you could see a report of all the opportunities that in their current stages. Or on Monday morning, you could send out a report to a sales manager seeing what their subordinates within Salesforce or the people that they manage within Salesforce, or you could see a running list of their opportunities and what the next steps are and which ones should be worked on this week and which ones are going to be high priority. That can be super useful as far as just getting everyone up to date so they don't have to go in and search for these reports, that they can just get the email. You can schedule it in daily, weekly, monthly, any day of the week. So let's say Monday morning, Monday morning. You can send it multiple times a week as well. At 7 a.m., I'm going to get an email for it. And this is in a private folder. And so if we put this into a public folder, we could add other people to this subscription. But that is going to be quick dashboards. And with that is going to be the end of this CRM training. I hope that you found this video really helpful. These videos usually do really well on my channel, and so I wanted to make this video. I hope that it was super useful. If you have any questions, be sure to leave it down below, or if you have any other tutorials that you would like to see, I'll be happy to make them. Feel free to check out the course on Udemy or on salesforceupskill.com. As far as the user training go, it goes into more detail and more features and functionalities to make your job easier as a sales rep using Salesforce. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn at EmilyCallMBA. I'm also on Twitter/X, whatever it's called these days. But those links will be down in the description. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.